Turkey has been the main backer of the opposition groups aiming to topple Assad government. What is the official response of the Erdogan government on the recent development that are taking place in Syria?
Of course, the Turkish government was in opposition to the Assad regime, and it had a number of particular concerns. Particularly, it wanted a safety belt of about 30 kilometers along the Syrian border so that the Syrian internal struggles, including Kurdish aspirations for establishing their separatist state, would not be carrying problems into Turkey. At the moment, since the opposition, incidentally, the opposition not necessarily backed by Turkey, the HDS has won the day. The Turkish position remains the same. Turkey wants to make sure that its border areas are safe so that the problems of Syria are not transported or transplanted into Turkey, number one. And number two, Turkey is hosting a large number of Syrian refugees, apparently a good many of them from the regions of Manbij and from Aleppo. And Turkey hopes that these guests will be going back to their home once the stability in Syria is restored, because this is in millions. We're talking about millions of people, and of course, it is a very costly undertaking to serve as the host to these Syrians, and there has been a growing intensity of feeling within Turkey that the immigrants should go back home.
Okay. So how would this new regime be different from the Assad regime? I'm asking you this question because the leader of HTS, Jolani, is America's most wanted. Perhaps his organization is UN designated terror organization. In 2017, till 2017, America had a very, very tough stand when it comes to HTS. But now, what we could see is a meltdown for HTS and Jolani. How would this new regime be different from the previous one, the Assad regime?
Well, of course, we will have to wait and see. We don't know how it is going to be different, but it seems that the Assad regime had lost any basis of popular support it had. In fact, the fact that it folded so easily once the Russian and the Iranian support was withdrawn indicates that the Assad regime had a very fickle basis of support in Syrian society. It does appear that the new movement, SDS, which itself is a coalition of various forces, seems to enjoy a wider popularity. Also, it seems to have evolved in its political orientation, and it has appeared to become now more inclusive and more cognizant of the differences in Syrian society. Now, you are right that it was previously designated as a terrorist organization, but as you know, as positions of organizations change, states that have designated them as terrorists also change their designation. At the moment, we have to basically accept the fact that the SDS is establishing political control in Syria, and by all indications, they have said that they are willing to cooperate with outside powers, including the United States and Europe. And therefore, we will have to wait and see whether this new movement will behave as if it is a responsible force for governing Syria rather than as a terrorist organization that will obliterate previous Syrian regime.
Sir, also, do you see this as a victory of US, Turkey, and Israel and a defeat of Iran, Russia axis in Syria?
Well, I mean, obviously, the horse on which the Russians and the Iranians have bet have lost the battle. And we are not sure of the extent to which, for example, the United States is backing SDS or the European powers. I think, however, because Assad was perceived as an enemy of Israel. Israel is rather happy of the change. And since the government in Syria will be occupied for a long time with internal matters rather than engaging in external action, I think Israel is probably rather happy that the pressure it might have felt is coming from Syria is no longer there, and the Syrians will be tending to mainly their own domestic affairs.
Okay. Sir, also, does Russia really want to protect Assad or wanted to give up on Assad regime given its involvement in Ukraine? Also, what do you think became the reason for the collapse of Assad administration? Because President-elect Donald Trump came up with a social media post this morning, and perhaps he said that Russia was not interested in protecting Assad because of Russia's involvement in Ukraine. Israel was busy, sorry, I beg your pardon, was busy fighting with Israel, and perhaps that led to the collapse of Assad regime. So there is nobody to back Assad, and that's why Assad regime got collapsed. Do you agree to this theory, or perhaps what's your take on this?
Well, it seems that Assad had difficulty maintaining power if he were not supported by Russia and Iran. Now that these two countries have withdrawn their support, it seems that Assad was unable to survive as an independent force. So this is the number one observation. Number two, I think you mentioned the fact that the pressures in Ukraine may have led the Russians to withdraw from Syria. I think this is obviously true that Russia had its hands full in Ukraine, and it had major difficulties there, such that it had to invite North Korean troops to come in for support, and therefore to extend particularly active military support to the Syrian regime became a very costly and impossible operation. Therefore, Russia decided to withdraw. But if you look at it from the perspective of what did Russia really want in the area, we can conclude that Russia was interested in maintaining its naval base in Tartus in Latakia, and maybe also maintaining an air force base in Hmeimim. And it is entirely possible that the new government will accommodate some of the Russian wishes, because Russia wants to maintain its role in maintaining the security of the Eastern Mediterranean. And from that perspective, the new government may also have an interest in seeing that the Russians are there and constitute a counterbalance to other forces that will also show an interest in the area. And the Russian presence may well be considered as a counterforce to the encroachments Israel might initiate against Syria in the future.
Okay. Sir, also would like to understand from you, once again, I would like to ask you the same question. Do you really think that the US and Turkey were actively involved in this, in the toppling of Assad's regime, or they just backed the opposition forces, and, opposition forces got this window where, Russian forces are busy in Ukraine, Iran is busy fighting Israel. So they strategically planned this window to topple, and city after city they started taking over, and finally they are in Damascus now. I want a very honest and a very apt, analysis from you.
Mr. Mishra, I'm an academic, and I cannot essentially render opinions on things I really do not have enough information about. And I really do not know the extent to which the United States may or may not have been involved in supporting a movement like SDS in its effort to take over Assad forces. It seems that the SDS had some source of support, because it cannot obviously operate there by itself if it didn't receive some international support. And I would not be surprised if some of the support came from the United States. Now, turning to Turkey, I mean, Turkey did actually support the Syrian National Army, and the Syrian National Army has been successful in liberating Tel Rifat, and now I understand Manbij, west of the Euphrates River, from Kurdish forces that had entered there and were trying to change the ethnic composition of the area. I think I understand that a large segment of the immigrants in Turkey emanate also from the Manbij area. So with the liberation of the area by the Syrian National Army, which is backed by Turkey, there's no question about that, backed by Turkey, these people will return to their homes. And also the fact that Turkey has established, in cooperation with the Syrian National Army, control in Tel Rifat and Manbij means that Turkey has succeeded in establishing a 30-kilometer wide security zone along its border west of the Euphrates. This also brings an effective end to the aspirations of a potential YPG PYD regime to the east of the Euphrates River to have a corridor reaching the Mediterranean Sea. That idea has now been buried, and it will probably not be revitalized again. So from a Turkish perspective, yes, Turkey did back the Syrian National Army, and Turkey hopes that this will be a way of ensuring not only the safety of the area, but also a way that the immigrants in Turkey, a significant portion of which come from Manbij, go back to their homeland.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate you joining us here on CNN News 18. Thanks a lot.
It's a pleasure to have talked with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.